My name's Crystal Rogers. I'm doing my assignment over middle adulthood, and I'm doing an interview with Natalie. And I'm going to start with my first question. What age are you?
58.
And my second question is, what are the visible signs of aging that you have noticed that are happening at this time in your life?
Well, I do have noticed that it takes longer for me to recover after working. I feel like I still go pretty hard at work, but it takes more time to recover after my stretch of shifts. I have less energy. I do have more aches and pains, but not real significant where I can't get out of bed. The weight gain, I've gained weight, and that's due to menopause. But yeah, I just don't have the energy I once did.
Okay. And my third question, does your family have hereditary heart problems, cancer, hypertension, or diabetes?
Yes, my mother has diabetes, hypertension. I had grandparents who had cardiovascular issues. Mother also has had colon cancer twice. So.
And I read that heart disease is the leading cause of death in women in the U.S. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. And I read that if you have elevated blood pressure, like 140s over 90s for a long period of time, it affects the brain, and your brain will age 7.2 years more than someone that doesn't have high blood pressure.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I figured that out today.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
I like that.
I did not know that. Do you know the signs and symptoms of health problems?
Yes.
That we talked about?
Yes, I do. Being a nurse, I do know that.
Can you tell me a few of the symptoms for, say,
Diabetes?
Diabetes, yeah?
Before you know that you have it, thirst, weight gain. That's the main thing, thirst, and you void a lot. That sounded smart, didn't it?
Our fourth question, since entering this stage of life, have you noticed any cognitive or intellectual decline in how you make decisions or remember things?
Yeah, I really do. I feel like it takes me longer to do, for the critical thinking sometimes, just a little longer. I have to think through things. I'm more of a procrastinator now. I don't always get my bills paid the way I should. They're always paid, but I have. And there's a lot of things I've forgotten over the years that I once knew. I might not always know the reason why, but I know it's how it's done. But I'm sure I'm going to see a lot more of those issues later on down the road.
I read that most people don't have issues with their memory until they're closer to their 60 years old. They have a little decline, but they don't have as much problems until they're in their 60s and later in age.
Well, a lot of things came so much easier for me years ago, even 10 years ago. And it's not quite as easy as it used to be. But, I mean, I think I'm still on top of my game, and I'll get out when I slow down a little more.
Okay, the next question. How have your relationships changed with others since entering into this stage of life? Your spouse, parents, children, or co-workers, neighbors?
I think that I'm a lot calmer. I think I'm more accepting of people. I think I'm slower to anger, just because I'm aging and understanding life a lot better. I just don't get as worked up over like the family issues as I once did. And family means so much more to me today than it did 30 years ago. You know, my parents, and I know that they won't be around always, so
read that a lot of people are stressed around their early 40s and 50s because they're going through menopause, they're having to take care of their parents, they're having more busier careers, busier schedules. And so does any of that affect you?
Well, when I was going through menopause, it was a lot more stressful. And now since I'm done with that, I'm just, I think, a more laid back person than I was when I was in my 20s. You could get me wound up over anything. And now I just try to take it with a grain of salt.
Okay. Our next question. What is your career at this time?
I'm an RN and I work on the floor, direct patient care.
Okay. Are you comfortable and content with your career?
Very. I love my job. I've been doing it 36 years and I think I love it more every day.
And why is it that you enjoy your job?
I think it does more for me than I think my patients do more for me than what I do for them. I think it edifies me, and that's something I have to think about if I ever retire, what's going to build me up and make me feel better about me. It's something I was guided into, and whoever thought I would love it this much and for this long, and I've done a lot of things throughout my life, worked in a lot of different areas, but this is the one thing I keep coming back to, floor nursing.
Would you advance or change your career this lifetime?
No, and I don't have any desires to advance. Like I say, I've done multiple things in my lifetime. I've been a director of nursing of 2 different facilities. I've managed people, and I have no desire to do that. I like what I do. I like being a floor nurse.
All right, our next question. What lifestyle choices have had a strong impact on your health status, exercise, diet, habits, etc.?
Well, I smoked almost all my life. I quit 4 or 5 years ago. And if I could go back and change anything, it would be that, because, COPD could always, I could always have problems with that later on in life. Right now I don't, but the damage is pretty well done after 30, 40 years of smoking. I would change that.
Okay. Has anything other than that, any of your habits or anything impacted your life physically that you have?
Well, my eating habits. I live alone, and when I'm alone, when I'm alone without my grandchildren or kids or whoever, I do eat a lot more.
And if you could change your choices from the past, what lifestyle choices would you change besides the smoking?
The smoking, I couldn't change my marriages. I've had 2 marriages, and I can't regret those, even though they were unsuccessful, because I've had my children. I wouldn't have those children if I changed it. So, I prefer to look to the future and not regret the past much.
Okay, and our final question. Do you predict you will, or have you felt like you have experienced a midlife crisis?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think. Maybe in my 40s, possibly. But otherwise, no. I haven't. I'm content in being single. I don't date, so and I don't make compulsive purchases. So I've kind of been lucky there on the midlife crisis.
Okay. I feel like when I went over the information, I found that a lot of people, when they get to this age, if they're not in a relationship or they are not where they want to be in life, they have a lot of anxiety and a lot of problems having to deal with their life at this time. Feel like they're alone, or they're not going to have anybody. And do you feel like, since you are single, does that bother you?
No, but I could see that happening if I didn't have the job I have. or if I didn't have my grandchildren. My grandchildren take up a large part of my life, but I think I'd be lonely, very, very lonely, if I didn't have those family members. I really do.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you for participating in my interview.
Well, thank you. It wasn't so bad.
That's not that bad.